I don't see her. I'm going to try to call her.
Hello.
Okay, the meeting's on YouTube now.
Live on YouTube. We're waiting a minute or two for some folks to join us. There's Barbara there. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't even think of that.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Keith, you changed your name to iPad.
You're not going to go with the background, the virtual background, Keith?
Yeah, I don't know how to do all this. Maybe it'll switch back shortly.
Starting a meeting. Can I call you back? What's a good time? Okay. It's 4. I'll try it 5. Bye-bye. Maybe a little later, but 5. I'll try. Bye.
Mr. Chairman, there are 21 participants in the meeting now.
21? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is Joyce on? Joyce is on here. Yeah, I just saw Joyce. So we can't see everybody, Rudy.
I can read off who I'm showing in the meeting now.
You know what, Rudy? In terms of trustees, I've been checking off a list that I have here. Let me read the names that I have there that I don't see up there, and then you tell me if they are here. So, and I heard that Joyce Miller is here. So
Yes.
and I see meetings P flag. I'm guessing that's Leslie. Hang on.
Laura's there.
All right, so Penny Evans wasn't at the executive committee. I don't think Penny is here. Simona, are you back? Is Simona here? I don't see her on.
Simona, just a moment. They're not in alphabetical order, so let me find her. She's not in this meeting yet.
What about Joe Bless? Is he showing up, or Jim Eastep?
No and no.
Okay, what about Bert Rice?
No, sir.
Jackie Seaman?
No.
Both Jackie and Jim called in yesterday. Last two are Sandra Solomon and Jerry Starr. Oh, there's Bert. Okay.
There's Bert. Mr.
Skip, can you not see me?
Yes, Janeline, I can see you. I'm not calling names if I see you, and I'm only calling the names of people I can't tell are in the meeting. So Bert just come in. Sandra and Jerry are not in. So should I try to call the two that we know? I think we'll just get out. Okay, got it. One. I need to get one paper.
Okay. We'll begin in just a moment. I apologize for just allowing people to join. I think this time
Well, it's nice having other people joining virtually, not just me alone out in cyberspace. Thank you.
Simona is in the meeting now.
So, so no Penny. So then I have not here Penny, Joe Bless.
Here's the list. I circled the ones there that I didn't.
All right. You okay if I start?
Yeah, I just wanted, yeah, I'm ready.
And
All right. we'll
Senator
call the
Solomon's in
meeting.
the meeting now.
Senator Solomon, great.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And the stream on YouTube is looking good too.
Well, good. Hopefully everyone can hear us. Skip and I have moved closer to the microphone. You are all muted so that we can hear you and have a lot of background noise. First on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I don't believe, I'm sorry, do you need to?
I need to go. Joyce is trying to get in. She didn't get it.
Oh, she was there just a minute ago.
I know, I'll call her.
She's right there. I see her on the. Okay, Joyce is just trying to join us for a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going here to keep us all on time. The agenda, I don't believe there are any changes to this agenda. Hopefully everyone received a copy of it. If we could have a motion to approve the agenda. You'll have to unmute yourself and say your name if you're.
So moved, Barbara Maxwell.
Okay.
Jim Harley seconds it.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Barbara and Jim. Okay, and all those in favor?
Will, you may want to have a preliminary thing establishing a quorum is here.
Okay, sure. And why don't I read off names from the happenings, since it's all conveniently here. And I'll start at the top and introduce myself again. I'm Will Calhoun, I'm chairman. Just say present when I read your name. William Shorter.
Present.
Deirdre Hendrick.
Present.
Barbara Maxwell.
Present.
Keith Say.
Present.
Simona Simmons. She's waiting.
She's here.
She's
Anyway.
yeah, she's there. We see Simona. Leslie Anderson. Do you see at the bottom, Leslie, but we don't hear you if you want to unmute yourself? But we do see you there. Tanya Peruti.
Present.
Thank you, Tanya. Joan Beck. Joan's talking. She's here. Yeah. Kathy Belcher. I saw Kathy.
Present.
Thank you, Kathy. Laura Brown.
Present.
Hi, Laura. Let's see here. Jim Harley.
Here.
Bert Rice.
Present.
Don Rowland.
Present.
Rob Sapp.
Present.
Elaine Smith.
Present.
Sandra Solomon. She's here, right?
Sandra, we see you, we see your name there, but we can't hear you.
Okay, we see Sandra's there at least. All right. Dr. Fred Stilo.
Here. Up.
Fred, is this your last meeting?
Yeah, I'm just fading out into cyberland.
Well, we really appreciate you, particularly your knowledge of library systems outside of this one and giving us advice, particularly for someone like me, who obviously doesn't have a degree in library sciences, just doesn't know anything. But we have appreciated, you've been a really big help, and we'll definitely miss you. And hopefully we'll find someone just as well qualified to join us. Okay. Next up, we have the approval of minutes from the last full board meeting back on Thursday, February 19th, 2020. And let me ask first, are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Did we get anything wrong? Somebody that wasn't here, somebody that was here?
This is Laura. I was a little confused and I did send Donna this about the minutes as far as this meeting. I didn't see anyone listed. I saw for March 19th, the executive committee members listed for attendance, but I didn't see any names for the 4 o'clock meeting unless I just didn't, because I didn't see my name, but I didn't see anyone else. So I could be making a mistake.
You're talking about the last informational board meeting
The last Zoom meeting, the meeting where we all came, the first Zoom meeting, due to the
I don't
closure.
think there were minutes prepared. We will have to take care of that at a later meeting from last informational session.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure, I don't believe there were minutes that have been yet prepared, at least not shared with us. Is that right?
So Laura, are you saying that you saw minutes but nobody listed, or did you just see
There's not minutes from the last.
I just don't think we have.
Okay, so I may misunderstand. I saw something said March 19th and it said executive committee, but maybe I'm misunderstanding what that document is.
Right, that was just the executive committee meeting at the 3 o'clock or whatever it was. I don't believe minutes were prepared for the informational or.
There was an executive committee meeting earlier, and there were minutes taken of that, but there were no minutes taken of the informational session. And we didn't use Zoom at that time. We used a different format.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Estep is here too.
Jim Step, welcome, Jim. Thank you. All right, could I get a motion to approve the minutes for the Thursday, February 19th meeting?
So moved.
Williams,
Fred.
second.
Who was the second on that?
Will.
Will, you're
Porter.
second. Okay. All those in favor, if you could raise your hand. We can see it. I guess it doesn't work for everybody. I guess we're gonna have to, because we can't see Leslie, I guess, and Kathy. Leslie and Kathy, I guess if you could just.
Maybe the way to do this, Will, would be to have Rudy unmute everybody.
Right.
And then do an all in favor, say aye.
Okay.
And then all opposed, say nay.
Right.
And we'll just hear and you make the decision of.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Excuse me, guys.
Hello?
Before we
Hello?
go there, I thought this was an informational meeting and not a regular meeting where votes would be cast.
That's what I understood as well.
Okay. So Keith, are you saying that we don't need to approve the agenda for an information?
No, I'm just asking what we're doing. Is this a regular board of trustee meeting or is it just an informational meeting?
It is a board of trustees meeting with limited items to approve, including the agenda and the minutes of that previous meeting.
But according to the agenda, that's all there is to approve. That doesn't seem like a normal board meeting.
Well, whatever.
And also, as I mentioned at the executive committee meeting, I think it's very unusual for
Hold on just a minute, Deirdre. Someone has a telephone that ends in 598 and you're saying hello?
Yes, this is Jackie. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jackie. And you can hear us?
Yes, but what happens when I look at the screen, it says that you were in another meeting and you have to sign in. So we just started over. I want to do a visual.
Jackie,
Yes.
I sent instructions in an email earlier this afternoon. There are two different passcode numbers.
Right.
So the second
But Kenny,
one,
it's the second one?
yes, we're in the second meeting now.
Why don't you leave this meeting and come back and we're going to start the information. You'll have time before we start the information sharing. So go ahead.
Okay, I have to ask a question just in case I miss everything. When are the signs going to be fixed at the new library?
Rudy, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, we're working on that right now. They installed a sign yesterday. The sign, so we're trying to track down exactly what went wrong. The signs in the back are correct, but the sign in front, unfortunately, is not correct. And I've got the
sign in the back is
got
not
the sites-
the sign in the back is not good either.
Okay, I'll go
the
check on
sign
that
in-
again.
I
I got the site supervisor. I got the site supervisor working on covering that sign up.
Okay, well, the back sign, the initial E, middle name, is too close to Michael. So it looks like Michael E. or Michelle E. So that
Oh,
has
yes,
to be moved.
We know that, yes, ma'am. They just got
Okay.
installed yesterday. They're not ready to be, I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those things that's happened for the public to see. But they are going back to QA that later this week.
Thank you. you a.
Okay, we'll leave here and try to sign on otherwise,
Sign back
okay?
in. We're waiting to start this meeting, so you sign back in. Okay, there we go.
Okay,
All right.
And I'm muting everyone again.
I'm sorry, Rudy, what did you
She was
say?
muting everyone again.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
We had an issue about the minutes that we had this out.
Oh, okay.
So I want to unmute Deirdre. Can we,
I gotta unmute myself. Okay.
could you go back to what you were saying? Sorry, we interrupted you.
Oh, so I just think it's highly unusual for us to hold a meeting which the only purpose is to approve an agenda and approve minutes, and that I understood this to be an informational meeting, not a business meeting. I think it's also strange for us to hold a business what is effectively a business meeting if we're going to vote on things while the executive committee is doing all the business of the board.
Did you not review the agenda beforehand?
I have the agenda, but I did, just in advance, I did not know that this was going to be I understood we were going to be having an informational meeting to brief the board on what the.
Did the agenda not say that we would be at minutes and approval of an agenda?
It does, and I raised this at the executive committee meeting about half an hour ago.
I must have missed it there.
That I found it really unusual for us to do this because it seems strange the executive committee is essentially doing all the business of the board, yet we're doing a business meeting of the board.
So let me just address this, and hopefully we can get through this. When I helped to put this agenda together, my thinking was we would approve an agenda, which is essentially to have these updates. Most of it is. We would approve those minutes to get that approval done, and then we go on into the information session. And so the idea was to get the two approvals, the approval of the agenda and the minutes, and then go right into the updates. So that's what we would like to do. If you want to make an objection to approving minutes, then we just.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
My only concern with not approving the minutes soon is obviously under the Open Meetings Act, the next time you meet, you should approve the minutes. And we're going to have this way extended out to approve the minutes. I don't know when we might be.
I would have to look at some things, but I think that there's no reason that the executive committee couldn't approve them for purposes of that.
I'm just wondering why we didn't discuss this in the executive committee meeting though. We could have saved time. I don't remember it being brought up.
Will, I think there is the parliamentary question is the executive board meeting and making decisions that should properly come before the same day before this board is the full body.
That is correct, as well as why people could bring motions before this body now and really complicate things.
So okay, so let me just try to clarify why we're in this predicament. I'll call it a predicament. When we had the last meeting, and we didn't do it by Zoom, we had it by telephone, we had 24 members. It was very difficult to manage that meeting. And Will felt that it would be better to try to have the business of the board conducted by the executive committee. And so that's why we've had executive committees. Now that we are practicing with Zoom today, we're all getting the hang of this. It's probable, from my point of view, that next month we could do a Zoom meeting of the board and we wouldn't need the executive committee to be handling the business. We wanted to make sure we could carry on the business. That's what we did in the meeting this previous hour that we're getting ready to update on. But we did it for those reasons because we felt that it was very difficult to manage the 24 people. Now that we're seeing one another, most of us are seeing most people. I think that we may be able to go to a regular Zoom meeting for the next meeting, but that's why we got to this place. If we've already approved an agenda. I would suggest that we go ahead and approve the minutes and be done with it.
Do you
I
want?
guess just on procedurals with the open meeting laws to be a little more careful, because it's either a meeting or it's not, and we have constitution, we have bylaws that really demand a meeting at this time. So it's really awkward, but hell with it. Just, yeah, run ahead. This is a little dicey, should have been thought out a little more. Ciao.
So
I seconded a motion. I call the question.
A little shorter?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
There was already a second, I believe.
Whoever that was.
Donna, was there a second to this motion?
Point of order, it's irrelevant because if more than one person is willing to talk about it, you just can go forward with it.
Okay. All those in favor
Will
of the minutes?
seconded it. Fred moved to approve the minutes. Will seconded it, and everybody all approved already.
Yes. Okay, all right. Move on.
Okay.
All right. Would you like to update as the executive committee decisions?
Okay, so at the executive committee, the committee approved a number of things. Everything that was brought before the committee was approved unanimously. And one was to approve materials contracts above $75,000. There was $1 million contract for Maleo, which is the consortium we work with for buying E materials. A second item was approved, which is the IRS Form 990 was approved. And this one's, the next two are going to require some more detailed explanation. We brought to the executive committee a proposal to change the emergency compensation that we have been providing. As you know, when we went into the pandemic and closed the libraries, we made a decision to provide comp time to all employees who were doing the essential work of the organization. So for every hour worked, they would get, in addition to their base salary, they would get comp time. We now have gone through 2 pay periods, 4 weeks, and we're into our 3rd pay period. And so the proposal was to end comp time at the end of this pay period. So there will be 6 weeks of buildup of comp time for all employees who have been working during this period. In addition, we recommended that we begin paying to all employees who are not management employees, anyone at grade 9, grade 17 or below. We recommended that we pay for every hour worked for those employees an additional $3 per hour. So so that was the proposal, and it was adopted by the executive committee. So I wanted to mention that. I think we think it'll be a really valuable thing for our staff, especially the staff who are the non-management staff who are having to come in, and there are a few. I think most of the people working are in the management grades, but we felt that the comp time buildup was going to be unsustainable for the reason that all staff who are career staff receive 4 weeks of annual leave, 6 days of personal leave, 13 holidays, and with the comp time buildup, it was clear we were already getting a number of staff who were having comp time, which essentially means vacation time that they'll have to take later in the year in the range of 2, 3, 4 extra weeks. So it was just going to be too much, make things very unmanageable for supervisors approving leave and everything in the second half of this year. So that was approved. Are there any questions?
And just so you know that the policy was sent out from Scott earlier today. So you should have a copy of it by email.
I think it's only gone to executive committee. So we will send it to the full board. We'll get that to the full board. Okay, then the last thing that the board did today was to approve a reclassification of 5 positions. This is part of our effort to do recruitment and hiring of 13.5 positions that are currently vacant. A couple of weeks ago, when it became clear that the state and we know now today the county put in a hiring freeze, we felt it was an urgent matter to fill those positions. And so we put in place a plan to classify some positions. The positions being reclassified are, there are 4 circulation assistant positions and the administrative aide, which is the receptionist out here. That position will, what we decided to do for the reception service is we have already hired 3 people to work half-time or part-time hours once we reopen and have the building open. So they've been made, they have job offers, they're happy with that, and they'll start when we reopen. The reclasses were, 2 of the positions became library associates. And I don't have the full list there, but two became library associates. Excuse me a moment, Joyce is sending me a text, so I don't know if that's.
I don't see Joyce up there. Rudy, do you see Joyce?
Rudy, can you, Joyce is trying to be part of this meeting and she says she keeps getting a message that the password is incorrect. Let me, Rudy, can you tell me the password?
No.
Meeting because it's a new one.
I can't do it. I can't do it on an open channel like this, sir.
It is
No.
a
Me
new
text it to
password.
you.
She might be using the executive committee one. That's what I did by accident first.
Exactly.
I'm gonna look it up in text.
Ask her to look at the email I sent today. And the second meeting password is in that email that I sent today.
Okay.
Jim, can I also ask, could you unmute yourself, or can I ask, is this your last meeting as well, Jim, or do you not know?
I don't know yet. There's been no action on my house at all
No.
in recent times. So I'm still an Anne Arundel County resident, and for right now, it's much better for me to be here than in DC.
Well, that makes sense. So you're in one of the least affected parts of the county, right? Down in
Yes.
Peter.
Yes, zero cases in my zip code. So.
Well, that's good.
All right, hold on just 1 sec. Okay, so I've gotten Joyce taken care of. Boy, this is fun, isn't it? We're all learning a new skill here as we go. Okay, so 2 of the positions are becoming library associates. Okay.
Skip, tell her to go to the past the first meeting in the email.
Hold on, Jan Elaine. I'm gonna
Okay.
let you talk directly to her. I'm gonna let her. Just hold on. She's saying, "Don't worry, you have a meeting to run." Okay. Hold on a minute. Sorry, everybody. This is so awkward. Joyce, you're now on the meeting. Janet Lane was going to give you suggestions, or I can just leave this phone open and you can hear what's being said.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just leave the phone open.
That's what I'll do.
I cannot get in. I rebooted my computer.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Just listen in then. Thanks.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Joyce, you can hear, right? Okay, so she's not on speaker anymore. Okay. Okay. What I was talking about is the reclassifications. 2 positions will become library associates. 1 will become the IT help desk supervisor. 1 will become finance specialist 2, and 1 will become director of the annual fund. And the last 3 that I'm mentioning were part of our request to the county for new positions. And we wanted to get this done and the recruitment and hiring done because we know we're not going to be getting any new positions in the coming fiscal year. We're kind of just hanging on tight, hoping that we don't have to take big budget cuts this coming year. We haven't heard that we're likely to have to take budget cuts. As a matter of fact, County Executive Pittman, in the meeting with his cabinet last Friday, said he's hopeful that there will not have to be any furloughs. So we're hoping, but we'll know for sure what he's proposing when 2 weeks from tomorrow, when he makes his budget presentation at 11 a.m. on May 1st. So those reclassifications were done. On the issue of moving ahead with this hiring, I had been in touch all last week with Kate Baugust Brown, who is our liaison with county administration, to say, because we knew that a hiring freeze was coming, and to say, look, we're in the midst of recruiting for positions. We really want and need these positions. We'd like to continue. She said, yes, go ahead with it. And then this morning, when Mr. Pittman announced the hiring freeze immediately as of today, I contacted her again, talked through this with her. I sent her an email detailing all the different things we're trying to hire for. She is sharing that with Ben Burge, her direct boss at the county. And, because we are an independent agency, we aren't required to do exactly what the county says, but we would be in, and we want to work with the county, and we want to hear from the county what they would like us to do. We want to work very cooperatively with them. And that's why I wanted to be just straight up front with Kay and the county as we were moving into this recruitment. Some of our positions, we've actually made a job offer for one, so it actually is 12.5 positions now that are open. We were able to work with existing lists of candidates who had been interviewed, who weren't selected maybe in a first round, but were still on our list as highly qualified people that we would like to make a job offer if something came open. So there are positions such as those that have taken place. So that's the update on the decisions of the executive committee. Any questions?
Skip Fred, is there any word on capital development? Because that's, I think, a lot more on the board's bailiwick.
There's the first thing on capital projects is that capital projects that are underway are considered essential work under Governor Hogan's order and under County Executive Pittman's designation of essential work. And therefore our Annapolis and Riviera Beach projects are fully underway and moving forward. I do want to mention about Riviera Beach. We met on Annapolis, we made a decision when it was clear that it was still in the midst of the pandemic, that we would not try to get that library stocked, get the books on the shelves until we have reopened all of our libraries. And at that point in time, we'll give 4, 5, or 6 weeks for getting that, really 4 weeks is what we're looking at, for getting those books shelved and all done in a safe way. With Riviera Beach, we have a different type of deadline. Namely, the county is contracting with a general contractor, but also with a contractor to do asbestos abatement, which is the very first phase of that project. They originally had been pretty insistent with us that they needed us out of the building by May the 15th. That was creating a lot of anxiety for all of us. And so Rudy talked with Joe Hollebeck at County Public Works, and we're able to push that back to June the 15th. I'll go ahead and announce right now that we have made a decision that instead of reopening May 4th, we are now planning to do our reopening on June the 8th, with staff coming in June the 1st. And that is being framed the exact same way we said when we said this for May the 4th. In other words, we will not reopen until at least June the 8th. I'm in regular communications with Dr. Kalyana Raman, County Health Officer, and it was in discussions with him that he said he thought that was, given where things are projected to be as of when I talked to him on Tuesday, he said he thought that an opening on June the 8th with staff coming in on the 1st would probably work well. We also are already working with him, but we'll work in greater depth with him on exactly what that is going to mean, because it will probably be some sort of a phase 2 opening. If you remember, when we initially announced that we were going to go into phase 2, it was to to eliminate all programs and meeting room usages, have people at every other computer, and essentially have it be a check-in and check-out type operation. That was what it was going to be then, and then a day later we decided, this was around the weekend of March 13th, 14th, and 15th, we decided to close right away. And so, but when we reopen, it'll be on some sort of a phase 2, and we'll work out exactly what that means. I was in touch today with Tim Michaels, who is the acting emergency operations center person. He is in charge of all supplies of personal protective equipment for the county. And so he shared with me the process for how we can get some of those supplies so we can make sure that if we open and need masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, etc., we will have a ready supply of those. I would like to say that part of my discussion with Nilesh Kalyanaraman is to say that the whole point of a library is to gather people together. And that is really contrary to what we're trying to do in a pandemic. We're not trying to gather people together, we're trying to keep people apart. And so I said, Nilesh, I think that as businesses open and as other organizations open, the libraries could very well be the last places to open. And we're definitely not going to open in any way that will endanger staff or customers. And so there will be a lot of review, just like we did when we were looking at Annapolis and looking at River Beach. Fred, that's a long-winded answer to your question, but that's it. Any other questions?
Skip, on a different matter, skipping back to the matter on the emergency compensation. I may have missed it. I may have gotten distracted here. I apologize if you covered it, but did you cover the reasons we chose the amount we did?
Just this past weekend is when it became really clear to me that we were in an unsustainable situation with providing all of this comp time. When it was going to be a month or so, it seemed pretty much like, yeah, we can do this. But with the big buildup, I contacted a couple of colleagues. I contacted Paula Miller, the director of Baltimore County Public Library, and I contacted Roberta Phillips of Prince George's County Library System. What Roberta has done this past week, let me just give you their background. Essentially what she did was to do a renegotiation of the union contract. The union contract required those employees who were working, those essential employees, to be paid double time. So they were being paid out dollars that it had racked up about $60,000 in cost just really quickly. And so she renegotiated, came to a new memo of understanding, and they decided to provide $3 per hour stipend. So that's kind of what put it in my mind to propose this for our non-management employees. I thought that it would be a really good thing, and so I wanted to let you know that. That's the basic reason we came up with that number, and just hearing from Roberta that that's what they were doing for their employees, I thought that was a good thing. I'd also like to contrast this with Baltimore County Public Library. They are requiring all staff to come in and work 40 hours a week. They have some levels of staff where they're and not come in and work. They're mainly doing telework, but they're requiring them to work. They have a variety of things. They've defined all types of work that staff can do, all types of training opportunities. And then for the hours they can't actually do work, they're providing the administrative leave up to their regular pay. That's kind of one end of the spectrum. And with us kind of at the other end of the spectrum with all of the comp time we were providing, I was looking for a middle ground, and I think Prince George's gave us a good opportunity to look at a different way to do that. Deirdre, did you and I talked, I know, was there anything else you thought that I should mention?
No, I think you covered it, Skip.
This is Laura. I have a question because I know as an educator, we're teaching from home. Skip, if you're going to go to that model, that kind of mirrors Prince George's County. Do the employees have the devices and access to internet? Because there's a problem with the digital divide. We have staff members, not necessarily in Montgomery County, but across the state, and even in Montgomery County Library, that don't have devices or access to Wi-Fi. So if people are going to be required to work, are we going to ensure they have the tools that they need? I don't have a problem because I'm working from home as well. So I was given a Chromebook, or I picked up one after school's closed, but I'm using my personal Wi-Fi. So I think it's fine if we have a middle ground, but we have to make sure people have what they need to do their jobs adequately.
Laura, that's a great question. That is not the model we're going to, and the model you were referring to is Baltimore County. Baltimore County did provide not only the Chromebooks and other devices, but they provided, I believe, Wi-Fi hotspots. They made sure that every single employee had all the equipment necessary and the internet access. And you know, not every employee in Baltimore County had it, but they have it now, at least for this crisis period and so on. But we are not requiring our staff to work. What we're requiring is essential operations to continue. We are encouraging staff to take online training. Bethany Lambert is our staff development coordinator. She's made a number of things available. I should also point out we're trying to encourage people to use the EAP services, because this is a very difficult time for a lot of people. And you know, those counseling services are available, so we want people to be using that. It's just such an unprecedented time, and we're kind of inventing it as we go. Other questions?
Could I ask one question?
Oh, yes.
On that, and maybe this will help as well. Of the 250, 260 employees that we have, how many are actually working? Is it less than 50? Is that what it was, or 30?
We would have to run a report. I'm guessing it's around 50 to 75.
So out of the 250, 260 that we have, we're at a full complement.
Right.
Only 50 to 65 are actually working, and most of those are working at home, correct? Other than say like custodian or IT.
Pretty much.
Well, that's including managers too, right? Who are not going to be part of the emergency compensation. Am I right?
Right, exactly. There's also an additional 150 part-time people. Really, I only know of one part-timer who is, and that's our person here at headquarters who does all our receiving and shipping things. Other questions?
I'm sorry, I have another question. So your maintenance staff, I'm assuming, has sterilized all of the branches and sterilizing, or is the library still even receiving packaging at all, or has that stopped during COVID-19? There's really two questions. I'm assuming that all the branches have been sterilized and continue to be so. And then the second question is, are you guys, I know that a lot of the purchasing has been ebooks, but are you all still receiving traditional quote unquote library materials? And if so, how is that being handled as far as sterilization?
Okay, I would like to have Kathy and Rudy address that, because we did deep cleaning of the branches and we stopped receiving mail and everything else there. And then on the issue of receiving materials, I'd like Rudy to talk about that. But Kathy, could you speak to this?
Sure. When we closed, I instructed all of the custodians to do a thorough cleaning of the branch, and so that is done. I'm sure we are going to bring the staff in a week before we bring customers back, so they'll do cleaning again. The book drops are closed, so we're not bringing in any. We're not bringing in any more materials right now that could have the virus on them. Mail is being held at the post office or forwarded. So they're empty buildings right now. They're driving by and checking, make sure there aren't any leaks, making sure any trash isn't left outside. But the branches have been cleaned, yes.
Kathy, when you say they're driving by and checking, is this primarily the manager of the branch that's driving by and checking?
Or their designee. In some cases, the manager lives quite far away, so they've asked another staff member to check, or the custodian. So the branch manager has the responsibility, but they can designate it.
So Rudy, could you talk about the, what's happening with materials?
In terms of materials, we've shut down all pending deliveries from our vendors. One or two orders may have been out for fulfillment that we weren't able to cover. So we're getting here and there every once in a while a small delivery, one box or so. Try as we might, we have been unsuccessful in getting FedEx and UPS to stop shipping. So we've brought in a receiving clerk to handle those, and we handle them on a very case-by-case basis. But the boxes are just dropped off at headquarters. They're segregated, and we let them sit before we have staff open them up.
Any other questions?
Does the receiving clerk have PPE, Rudy?
Yes, he's got a mask, and he does wear gloves. But these are items. These are items that are coming off the UPS truck, so they've already been fairly well. They've already sat for quite some time without having anyone else on them. And the UPS drivers themselves are also wearing PPE as well, so we're fairly confident that they're nearly as safe as could be.
Right. I know if you go to the UPS drivers are though, and if you go to the UPS stores, or if you did in some other jurisdictions, some other states, they wear them as well. So at least they're concerned about it. So I'm glad we're taking that into consideration as well.
Fred, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to keep Kathy's background up and skip looking at you guys.
Yeah, that's great. I did want to mention that tomorrow at 9 a.m. we're going to have our first all-staff Zoom meeting. And Will is going to be present for that meeting. We'll be briefing staff on kind of all that's been going on. I asked for questions. I've received about 15 questions from staff members, and we're going to be responding to their questions. There's just so you know, there's several points of high anxiety among our staff, and that's evident not only from these some of the questions that have been coming through, but high anxiety over their jobs, knowing that we're tumbling toward this recession, concern about what's going to happen with this next year's budget. Will they have a job? And one of the things I'll be assuring staff is that if we get faced with budget cuts, we'll figure out what that might mean. But our employees are like key, most important things. So we're going to do everything we can to protect their jobs. We did that in the Great Recession. In the second year of that recession, all staff took a 5% pay cut, but no staff member lost their job. And like I said a few minutes ago, if the county executive's hopes come true, then he won't be recommending furloughs. And we would only do furloughs if the county requires it. So that's one of the concerns we'll be addressing tomorrow. Excuse me. In addition, there's real concern across the board. Every branch, every branch hasn't contacted me, but 15 different people from the headquarters and the branches. There's concern about making sure we don't come back and open our libraries prematurely. And I think I've been clear with you all, certainly have been with the library leadership team, that we will not do that. We will open the libraries when it's safe. And even when we open, if we have some sort of a partial reopening, we'll just be making sure we work with our county health officer, have a really strong plan for making the conditions safe. And we don't know exactly what that looks like right this minute, but that's the bottom line of it, is that we'll make sure that it is a safe place to be in, not just for our staff, but for our customers. Any other questions?
Jackie, were you asking a question up the top there? You got to unmute yourself.
Jackie, you're not unmuted. We can't hear you. You need to unmute.
How?
There you just did it. I think that Rudy unmuted you. Okay.
Well, that's what it said a long time ago.
I drove at the suggestion of a friend who saw the signs at the library. I drove by with my husband today and it looks absolutely lovely. But tell me please, because I might be the only one, what happened with the signs? In the front and the back with Michael Bush?
Okay,
When was that discovered and what's?
so Rudy's going to respond to you, Jackie, but also Joan, I think you're trying to get unmuted, aren't you? If you shake your head, you can.
Yes.
There, okay. So Joan, if you can hold off 1 minute, Rudy will answer Jackie's question and then you can speak.
Can I get the phone, huh?
Yep.
Sorry.
Let me get that mute real quick. Okay, we discovered the sign error this afternoon at about 1 o'clock when I went over to the library. The sign had been installed just that morning. So we've got library maintenance going over there as we speak right now to go cover the sign up. I've already contacted the architect and we'll see what we need to do to get that fixed.
And Rudy, what is the error? I don't know that everybody heard what the error was.
Mr. Bush's first name is misspelled. The A and the E are interposed. I can't even. I don't know how. I'm just beside myself. It's going to be a horribly expensive mistake for somebody. So we'll figure out who we're Green Man.
All right. Okay. So Joan, I know you've been wanting to speak.
Yes. I realize the need for safety going forward. I got it. But let me just make the point that the library is going to be even more important in this transitional phase than probably anything that we could do for the county. People are going to have to get jobs. They're going to have to look for work. They're going to have to find other ways to do things that may be lost to them for a while. So our role going forward could be even more critical. So the sooner we can open, the sooner we are given a clearance, we ought to be ready to hit the ground. I think we have a role to play here.
Joan, I'm really glad you brought that up. I've been emphasizing the safety of staff, but there's been a number of questions that came through from staff about what is essential, why are library services essential, and Kevin Best sent me an email reminding me that just a few years ago, the FEMA and the Maryland Emergency Management Association designated libraries as essential services. And it was done at the time with the idea that after a hurricane or a tornado or any of these disasters, that libraries are critically important. And they're for all the reasons that you mentioned, Joan. So I appreciate you bringing that up. We will open absolutely as soon as we can, but no sooner than it's safe. And so it's going to be, we've got a lot of things to balance there. They're both critically important. Even now, I have weekly meetings with the other health and human services directors. So that includes social services, workforce development, mental health, the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families. I'm leaving out some, but you know the health department itself. There are people in absolutely tremendous need right now. In normal times, we would be there to help them. We would be there helping them do job applications. We would be helping them find housing and all of these different things. We're doing what we can, and we're helping out where we can. But the sooner that we can make our staff available, who are the navigators of all of these myriad of services and all of the online things people are doing, the sooner we can get back to where we're helping our community, the better.
Skip, I'd sort of echo what Joan was saying, but giving a word in toward the virtual and really planning for dedicated virtual services. Got a lot of tools there. Yeah, I've been saying this for a lot of years, but as we roll back out physical, certainly the job centers, other materials that you can use this time to position and can be repositioning in a number of ways on the virtual side. It's so much there, so much you can sell, doing a good job. Just like to see a little more. Thank you.
It is a good, I appreciate that, Fred. It's a good time. I would like Kathy to speak to that, and I see that Joan wants to be unmuted again. So as soon as Kathy addresses what you just said, Fred, then Rudy, would you unmute Joan as soon as she speaks? Kathy?
Sure. I mean, Skip has set some things out, just showing how we have pivoted to emphasizing our databases and different services that we have. PR has done a great job, Christine and her team, sending out emails every couple of days telling our customers, and I'm sure all you all are on those lists, about the different databases that we have and the different websites that people can go to that we've already vetted for accuracy. So, and we will continue to do that. Absolutely. Totally agree. And our stats have been going up. So people are getting it. People are using them.
I think the one concern that we have is that when we come out of this, we have ramped up these services and we don't have a lot of excess. We don't have any excess staff. I wouldn't say that. And so when they're back doing all the regular programming and everything else, it could shrink our services back from where they are now. So this might prove to be a way to look next year at our budget proposal or whenever we're out of the recession, that we might look to add staffing to be able to ramp up more in our virtual services.
Especially virtual programming. That's the thing that needs the staff.
Rudy, would you unmute Joan? I know she wants to speak.
I just wanted to emphasize that I think it's not unrealistic to think we might have 20% unemployment. We're going to have a lot of people out of work. We're going to have a lot of businesses who are struggling to get back online, who are going to need people. We have a role to play as far as being a catalyst to help this happen. So let's make sure that we include the business community as far as our resource go to, because they're going to need help setting up their business. I'm sure they have lost or will lose employees in the meantime. So we can be a catalyst here to try to help our county get back up and running. So let's be prepared to hit the ground.
Thank you so much for that.
Are there any other questions? I'm sorry, Laura, go ahead.
One of the things that I would like to say is that when we do start back, I do think it's going to be in phases, and I'm sure that Kathy and Rudy and all of you there will have to put in place procedures to keep everyone safe, because there's so many things we don't know about COVID. I've lost 2 family members already. I have a third that is fighting for his life right now. And I have others that are sick. So I'm from Michigan. So what I'm saying is and then there may be a resurgence in the fall. There's just so much that we don't know. So even as a school teacher, when I'm talking, and as a school librarian, I'm talking to my own staff, thinking about how do we do things differently than we do now, and so what Kathy and everyone's going to have to do when we provide these services, they're not going to look like what they look like before COVID-19, because we just don't know enough. And so making the library a place to be is going to be different until this is and I don't know what that looks like, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's testing, whether it's providing PPE for people that come in. So even when we come back together, it's not going to be the way it is now. And I agree with you, Skip, even as a school teacher or an educator, I never had time to spend nearly as much time on the digital side because I had kids I was dealing with. So I agree with you, even when we come back, it's going to take time. It's not going to be, we're going to open and we're going to be like we were before. There's no way, especially because there's so much information that we don't know. And I live with two people who are high risk, and my fiance is high risk. So all the three people I love are people with low immunity systems because they're all cancer survivors and patients. So there's so many contingencies that have to be taken into consideration, and serving the public is also making sure everyone is safe, our staff and our clients. And that's going to take resources. And I'm wondering if we will be reallocating funds for that. Even in my own school district, even my own budget, I'm beginning to wonder, are we going to reallocate those things because we may have to spend money on PPE and other things and providing those for people as we go forward.
Thank you, Laura. I know we have staff with family members who are compromised and actually dealing with COVID. And yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Fred.
Sure. We've kind of covered the items of the agenda. You updated us on the closed status of potential reopening. We've been talking a little bit about services continuing through the pandemic. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, let me ask, the last real item on the agenda was I wanted executive leadership team to brief you on their areas. So I can either call on you or you can jump in and just speak. Or maybe Rudy, if you can unmute the executive team members, and then they can speak to some of the things going on there. And I don't want to lose this. I want to, before we end the meeting and people end up starting to leave, I also want to echo what Will said, thanking Fred for his years of service here. I got to know Fred a little bit before I ever moved to Annapolis, just through the library profession, and it's been really valuable to have you on the board. You've done a number of things, so thank you for what you did, and hope you get to go on those trips around the world soon, because right now the world isn't looking too friendly.
Okay, the ELT is unmuted. Quick update, Riviera Beach, we're still planning on doing that work for the project as soon as we get the all clear to move into the temp library space. Annapolis, we're almost ready to get our use and occupancy certificate, so that project is nearly complete. Of course, I will be having some very, very detailed conversations with the sign maker very, very shortly. And of course, we are concentrating very much on providing as many electronic resources as possible to the public, to our customers. And on behalf of the support services team, Mr. Harlan, Dr. Stila, we very much appreciate your support throughout all these years, and thank you, and best wishes in following C's.
Kathy, go next.
Remember, just jump in.
Yeah, I'll just go a little bit. So like I said earlier, we're really pivoting to focusing on our virtual resources. We're working on virtual programming. So I'm going to be meeting with my team on Monday to talk about what we're going to do for the next month, now that we know we're going to be closed for another month. But we've been doing story times every day. We've been doing once a week bilingual, Babies in Bloom once a week, but we've also been doing some adult programming, some movie nights. If y'all haven't joined, now that you're comfortable with Zoom, I think you might enjoy those. We're going to be adding a little bit more gradually. They've been really popular with the public, so that's great. I did want to let you know that one of the things that we think our customers are missing is the ability to just come in and ask a question, right? We're not as accessible as we are when we're in all the branches. So we have the Brain Fuse tutoring, which is now available from noon every day, which isn't library staff, but is such a great resource. So making sure that the students know about that and the parents who are educating from home. We have email a librarian, and we do have staff answering those questions. So we have really short response times on that. So if people email a question, they'll get a response from library staff. And Facebook chat has been really active. We're getting a lot of questions through social media, Twitter, Instagram, but mostly the Facebook chat. People can ask a question, they'll get an away message, but then they'll get a response pretty quickly. So staff have been really great about being there to answer the questions from our customers when they can't just show up at a branch and do that. I think that's it.
I can go. This is Ann Glenn, Library Foundation. I think you all know, obviously, that the foundation was required to postpone For the Love of the Library. We are not canceling it. As you know, we're postponing it to the fall. We haven't yet chosen a new date, but we hope to be doing that as plans for the library's reopening becomes clearer. Also, of course, we had to plan our part of, we had to cancel, of course, our part in the festivities for the grand opening for Annapolis. But now that it's beginning to look like we have perhaps some kind of idea of when Annapolis might be opening, we are hoping that we will be able to be part of some kind of grand opening festivities for the foundation. And that's primarily, of course, the unveiling of the donor wall and the plaques for the donors inside the new Annapolis Library, and the honoring of the donors and our VIP reception and so forth. So even though we've had to postpone those things, we're now looking forward to being able to do them later in the year. One interesting thing that you might want to know is when we postponed For the Love of the Library, of course, we contacted all of these sponsors. We have 23 some sponsors who have given or pledged $55,000 to be sponsors for this year's For the Love of the Library. And when I contacted them to let them know about the postponement, I gave all of them the option of having their donation refunded, and none of them chose to do that. So that was really nice. And also we had sold 113 tickets to For the Love of the Library when we had to postpone it. And I also gave people who had purchased a ticket the option of having a refund, and no one took advantage of that. So that was gratifying, and people are looking forward to when we have the event in the fall. I did do a report which was forwarded to you, where the foundations, even though we're not in the office, we're continuing to keep the business of the organization going. We're acknowledging gifts and taking care of invoices and so forth. And we are planning to do some ramping up of our reaching out to donors. We also are planning to do some email and media fundraising between now and when the library opens. A number of library foundations and organizations across the country are doing that. So we are thinking very seriously about doing that. So we had a great meeting yesterday with the foundation directors online, and they're very positive and very excited about all the things that the library is doing during this time to help the public. So that's all.
Thanks, Ann.
Hey, this is Coven for Human Resources. We just continue to support the library and the staff, keeping them up to date through ELIZA with what's taking place with the COVID-19 and what's going on also with federal legislation that's been passed. That was posted to ELIZA. So we just want to keep people abreast of what's going on, how to stay safe, and then of course supporting any management decisions. We certainly appreciate the board's approval of the reclassification, so we'll be actively working on recruiting. Some recruiting has already been done and we're in the works. We've found some really good candidates, but we, ramping up even more our recruiting to get these positions staffed. So we certainly appreciate your support once again, and we'll continue to support the library as well as the staff. Keep everyone as calm as possible. One thing we've been doing, we did post a fitness challenge on ELIZA. We'll be coming out with another one, roughly about a month, maybe to keep everyone active, calm, and alleviate any type of anxiety that might be out there. It's a stressful time. So by information and by keeping them active physically, but as well as those who are working challenged mentally, certainly we'll see our way through this challenging time.
I'll go next. This is Christine, the library's marketing and communications manager. We've been very busy promoting, obviously, our digital services and all of the new initiatives that we've been rolling out to help customers. Things like making it easier to get a virtual card, as well as all the new materials that we've been ordering, and some of the databases that we've made available to people at home that are normally only available in the library, things like ancestry.com and our foundation grant directory. So we've been sending emails pretty much every other day to groups of customers promoting each of our digital resources, and we're going to continue to do so. So folks don't forget about us. We've been doing some paid advertising as well, and are seeing our numbers of new users in those e-platforms just double.
I think Scott is the
The finance office is focused first and foremost on keeping everyone paid. And beyond that, we're also keeping up with our recurring bills that we incur, whether or not we're open to the public, rents being among the highlight of those. And we are still doing some essential purchases to try to make sure that that we're able to procure everything that we budgeted for, so that when we do reopen, we'll have those that equipment ready for the staff and the public.
Okay. Well,
I got a question for Scott.
Yes, sir.
What's happening with the Discovery's lease with the mall being closed? Are we paying rent? What's going on?
Oh, we most certainly are. We got the second invoice today, I believe it was. Skip signed off on it.
yeah, last night I signed an invoice for $23,000 in rent. So, yep, we're paying it.
Got that, and Mountain Road as well has been, we've done business with them for a very long time. We know the people there, and they've been very prompt about getting their invoices to us and following up to make sure they receive payment in a timely manner.
You know, when we opened Discoveries in the new space, it was such a joyous day. And I said to the manager that day, I said, well, we will see where things are 10 years from now at the end of our lease, and hopefully we'll be ready to sign another lease at that time. And as much difficulty as malls have already been having in all retail, it's going to be very interesting to see how the mall recovers from this, because it's been hit tremendously. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Are we ready to end?
I believe so. Did anybody else?
Yeah, no, I just want to say wish my goodbyes to everyone. It's been fun and interesting. I think you're going to be watching the library reinvent itself in a very dynamic fashion. And a final plug along Joan's line for a business in entrepreneurial job sort of virtual center. I think it's time to hit and get that ready and up and running. The county will love you, and it should be the foundation getting a ton of money for you to actually do it. So love you all, and thanks for the experience.
So before everybody goes, Rudy, would you unmute everyone?
Thank you. Goodbye, Fred.
Bye,
Fred.
Fred.
Great life.
Bye.
Bye. Everybody's unmuted. Raise a glass, and tomorrow night at 6 p.m. we would have been at For the Love of the Library. So right now we can be thinking about For the Love of the Library, thanking Fred for his service. I really thank all of you for being such stalwart members of this board and such caring and dedicated people. And we'll get through it. It's a horrendous time, but we'll get through it. So thanks, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
I was working to figure out what happened, and we're disappointed.
Bye, everybody.
I move to adjourn.
Oh.
Second.
I second.
Call for the adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
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 You're back. You're back.